Hi everyone, this is One from Some Desire. Today we're going to be making this check slash plain bracelet with a shaped start and a shaped end. And for this tutorial I'll be using the straight alpha technique and the straight edge technique, which means I'll be making backward forward knots or forward backward knots on the edges. And we will need 6 base string, and each base string will be about 16 inches. I also extended one of my base strings by 7 inches, and then white and black for your leading string. Now we're going to remove the string that I extended out of the base string, so we're going to use that to make a backward forward knot on the rest of the string. That's the beginning of our loop. We are going to repeat the backward forward knot again. And if you notice, my background string isn't just one color, because I got 3 strings of white, 3 strings of black, because I wanted my ties to be black and white. Now we're just jumping ahead onto when I finished my loop. I have taped it down, and this is what it looks like. Now I'm going to bring in my black leading string, and I would tape that down. You don't have to use tape. If you're using a clipboard, maybe you could hold it, your choice. So now I'm just going to start my shaped beginning. So with the left, I'm going to remove 2 from the bunch and push that towards the middle, and I'll do the same with the bunch on the right. Remove 2 from that and push it towards the middle. Now I'm just going to make 1, pass my string under the first part on the left, so it's currently in between, and then I'll make a backward forward knot, over those 4 strings on the left. Then make a forward knot over the 2, just make 1 forward knot over both of them, and make the same over the next one. 1 forward knot over the 2 in the middle from the right, and make 1 forward backward knot over the bunch on the right edge. Now that we're done with that, we're going to remove 2 from that bunch on the right. Yes, and then holding the last 2 strings on the right, we're going to make a forward backward knot over all that as 1, so those 2 strings in the same time. Then the next 2 strings that we just removed, we're going to make a backward knot on each. Moving on to the next 2 strings beside that, we're going to make a backward knot on each. That's 2 backward knots. And then after this, we'll move on to the next 2, which means we're officially on the left. Yes, the left. Take those 2 and make 1 backward knot on each. I see a bit of my white string sticking out. You can just pull the background string and it just fixes itself. Now taking the last 2 from that bunch on the left, we're going to make a backward knot over each. Now this is not your traditional shape start. I'm just doing something that I saw and I decided I liked. Now we're going to make one backward forward knot on the edge over both strings. One backward forward knot. Now we are done, so just going to make a straight row to be sure. So now taking the two strings on the edge, we're going to be making a forward knot over each. Starting with the black will make a backward forward knot. Then we are going to make 10 forward knots. I'm using the straight edge technique, so we'll be making only 10 forward knots, and on the edge we'll make a backward forward knots to end my row. Separating the two on the last bunch on the right, and making our last forward knots over the white string, and then the forward backward knot over the string on the edge. So we've ended this row. Now we're going to take that leading string and pass it under the other strings on the left and pull it towards one side. So it's on the left sticking out, and I've tipped my white string down and I'm going to pass it under the black string. Taking 3 strings, I'm going to pass it under the first black string, that's the one on the edge. Now I'm going to proceed to make a backward and forward backward knot with it. Don't pull it tight, just make a forward backward knot. And then proceed to make 2 backward knots, one on the white and one on the black string beside it. We have officially started making our bracelet. So this is what we have now. Take the next 3 strings. Okay, bring our leading string back in there, then take the next 3 strings, white, black, white in my case, and then I'm going to remove the white, which is nearest to it, and make it the first half of the backward knot. Pull it up, take the white string, pass it inside that half knot and pull it towards the left. Switching string using the flat Alfred technique. Now complete the other half of the backward knot and see. Now make 2 backward knots. So with each color we're just going to be making 3 backward knots, or 3 forward knots, anyone. Now we are going to switch back to white. So just pull it up. Now take the next 3 strings, bring the white back into the middle. There. Now take the black string, closest one on the right, and make a 1/2 of a backward knot. Pass the black string through half of the knot and over to the left side. and then complete the backward knot. And now proceed to make 2 more backward knots. Now with our left edge, we're going to bring back our black string and make a first half of the backward knot. So I'm going to make our color switch now. Take this one, pass it over, under, pull, and then complete our backward knot. So we're about to finish this the row. So all that's remaining is for us to make 1 more backward knot and then a backward forward knot on the edge, which in my case would be over the black string. And here we have finished our row, and we're going to start again with those same three strings on the left. Make a backward forward knot on the edge and 2 forward knots on the next 2 strings, which will be white in my case. So this row now we're just going to be repeating the same thing. The only difference is that I'll be making forward knots instead of backward knots for this row. And now I'm going to be making my color switch again, bringing my white string to the middle of that, taking the next 3 strings beside it, taking the one on the edge of those 3 strings and making a first half of a forward knot. Pass my leading black string through it and all the way under the other strings towards my right. And now I will make the second half of the forward knot. And then on the next 2 strings I'm going to make forward knots. So that's 2 forward knots. Now we're making the color switch again. So we're going to be taking the next 3 strings, and bringing our black leading string right back. Now we're going to make the color switch on our white, and then after that we are going to make 2 forward knots on the next 2 strings. And then my voice isn't sounding well, which is good because I still have a cold, but it's much better than before. So I'm sorry if I sound a little weird. Moving on to the last 3 strings on our right, we are going to bring our right string back and make the first half of a forward knot on the string beside that, on the next string, and then take our black leading string and pass it through the knots under the remaining strings and pull towards the right. Now finish our complete our knots, then make 1 forward knot and then 1 forward backward knot. Our forward backward knot ends our official second row. That I've ended this row, I'm going to repeat our first official row. So the exact same thing, the 3 whites in the beginning, which is what I've currently made. I'm still making, sorry. And then on the only 3, and then I'll bring back the black leading string and pick the next 3 strings from the next, and then make a color switch on the edge. on the first of the 3 strings I've picked, pass the white through the knot and under the string towards the left side, and then finish it off by making the second half of the backward knot. Then continuing to make 2 backward knots. This is exactly the same thing we did when we officially started making our bracelets, if you notice, and we're repeating that. Okay, so I'm just going to stop recording the voiceover now because I feel like I'm ruining the video. So now that we are about to finish our row, all that's remaining is for us to make our backward forward knot on the edge there. So we finished our row of official 3rd row, and we're going to pass that black leading string over and under towards my right. You can see it's sticking out on the right there. So now we're going to start this row with white instead. So we're going to take the white string and make a backward forward knot on the edge of the left, and then take the next 2 strings beside that and make 2 forward knots. We have switched our position, so where I made black knots before, I'll be making white knots now, and where I made white knots before, I'll be making black knots now. So that's the only difference. We're going to be making the same thing, doing the same thing we did in the 2nd row. So now we're going to bring back we're going to take the next 3 strings, and then we'll bring back our leading black string, make the color switch, and then we'll make 2 forward knots. So that's 3 knots in total, made with black. Ignore my string though, because it's quite short. I'm using scrap thread throughout this bracelet. I forgot I had so many, so I'm using them off slowly. Oh, and the amount of string I put for my black leading string and my white leading string is the total amount of strings I used throughout the bracelet. I calculated it, yes, I calculated every small little string I had. Taking the next 3, we're going to bring back our whites and we're going to introduce a new white. So we're just going to bring it under, so it's in the position where it's supposed to be, beside what we just finished knotting on, and then we'll make 1/2 of the forward knot and pull, and then pass our string through that knot over and towards the right, and then complete our forward knot, sorry, and make 2 more knots. so 2 more forward knots. Bring our black string back and make our first half of the forward knots for our color change. Pass the white string over through that knot, over, under, and then towards one side. Complete the second half of the knot and make one more forward knot, and then make a forward backward knot on the edge. And that is how we are going to complete our 4th row. So we finished our 4th row now, and we're going to go back in the same way, but we'll be using backward knots instead now. So we're going to make a forward backward knot on the edge, and then make 2 backward knots, still with those same 3, then those last 3 strings on the right here. Now we're going to bring our white leading string back, taking the next 3 strings on the next 3 strings we have. We're going to make our first half of the backward knot for our color change. Pass the black string through and out, under and all the way towards the left, and complete the second half of our backward knot. Now the good thing about the flat alpha technique is that if each knot looks too big, you can just pull on the leading string that is there before you make a knot with it. Because you can see I've been pulling on one of my strings, like I pulled on my black string there. So just in case, so it doesn't like stick out as much. Now take the next 3 strings and bring our black leading string back. And now we're going to continue making the next 3 backward knots with black. Now we're switching to whites to complete the last 3 knots on the edge. Now we're going to be making 1 backward knot and 1 backward forward knot on the edge. And that would be completing our 5th row. Now we're going to make our 4th row again. So we're going to be starting with a backward forward knot, and then make 2 forward knots in white. Then you know how it goes: 2 forward knots in white, 3 forward knots in black, 3 forward knots in white again, and then 2 forward knots in black, 1 forward backward knot. So now we're switching colors. And if you notice, the first 3 rows we made them in one color, and then the next 3 rows we are making, which is because we're currently on our last row now, we're going to make them starting with white and ending with starting with white on the left and ending with black on the right, which is an opposite of the first 3 rows we did, which we started with white on the right. That sounds weird, but white on the left. So now, after I've completed this last knot there, I'm going to pass the string under, because we're going to be repeating our first official row. That's it, we just repeat the first official row. No, we're starting from the first row again, because that's all we're going to be doing. We'll make 3 of those, like how we did when we first started. So I'll put the minute on the screen for you to repeat from. I'm just going to go through this one so that you can understand. Now only make 1 row out of the 3 that are patched together. So making a backward forward knot on the edge, make 2 backward knots, and then keep going without color switches. We're repeating the exact same steps we did in the beginning, because for each row we have these exact same color switches in the exact same places. So just, if you're confused, just leave a comment in the description. I'll try to help you, or you can just text me on Instagram. And just in case you didn't know, I'm Sam Josiah on Instagram, Sam_Josiah, and I'm the same. I think I'm the same on Pinterest. So in case you want to chat me up there, and I'm also on Facebook, just in case you don't have any of the other accounts. Okay, I'm just going to skip to the end of this, where I actually started making the triangle and the shaped end. Okay, bracelet. So I'm going to be taking the 3 strings on the, okay, let me just remove our white leading string, because I'm ending with the black on the left. So we're going to take our black leading string, put it to one side, then take the next 3 strings on the edges, put that to one side, take the next 3 strings on the edges on the right, there too. So getting started with the one on the left, I'm going to make 1 backward forward knot over the strings on the left. Those 3 in one bunch, I'm going to make 1 backward forward knot over them. Be careful when making this knot, because it's really big and might just bunch out. Then I'm going to proceed to make 6 forward knots. That's 6 knots. That's 1 knot on each of these strings in the middle. Done with that, we are going to take the last 3 strings on the right and make a forward backward knot. Again, be very careful with your knots here, you don't want anyone sticking out. Now I'm going to add 1 string to that bunch, so now I have 4 strings in that bunch, and I'm going to make a forward backward knot again. Then I'm going to make 4 backward knots, so I'm going to have 4 backward knots. forward backward knot. I'm on my last backward knot, and then I'm going to add the last string to the bunch on the left, so I have 4 strings in that bunch currently, and I'm going to make a backward forward knot to finish that row. Now I'm going to add one more string into that bunch on the left, so making it 5, and make a backward forward knot again, and then I'll make 2 forward knots, and adding that string to the bunch on the right, making that 5 too. Then I'll make a forward backward knot over that string. Make sure your string doesn't stick out. Now add it into each string, add it into each bunch, making 6, and make a backward forward knot over the right and make a forward backward knot over the left, because now we have 6 in each bunch, which means we finally reach the end of our shaped start. There. And I'm going to make twisted ties. I'm going to make twisted ties for this, but if you want, you can make plaited ties. If you want to plait it, just take 2 black strings on the left, put the other 2 black strings on the right, leaving the 3 white strings in the middle, and plait them. But I want to make twisted ties, so I'm going to make those black strings together, which also includes my back string, and I'm going to twist them with my fingers. I'm going to twist them with my fingers, then I'm going to twist them clockwise, while twisting them around each other clockwise, and doing the same on the other side, which will have 3 black and 3 white. And I'm just going to make, I think, an overhand knot there. Pull it all the way down, but making sure that both of them are the exact same length, because I have issues with this. And I'm just going to snip it off, and I'll show you the process of my snipping off the back of my string, because somebody asked for it in the last Alpha tutorial and I realized I didn't show that, so I'm just going to be snipping it off as close to the bracelet as possible, both on the edges and every other place. I want to say thank you for watching, and always remember that Alpha bracelets are not easy to make, and this is not a beginner pattern. This is more for like intermediate, because of all the color switches that are going on. So if it doesn't come out well the first time, you shouldn't be angry, because my first like 10 alphas were completely horrible. I don't even know where they are. That's how bad mine were. So just keep trying, and practice makes perfect. And doesn't matter how close to the edge it is, just cut it off. There. See, it won't come loose. Just leave it like that, and that's all. So thank you for watching. This is the bracelet we just finished making. I hope you have a nice day, and the next tutorial that'll pop up will probably for the half hearts. I hope you watch it. Have a nice day.